Should the Chicago Bulls be looking to sign Malik Beasley? And who is going to step up first this season between Dalen Terry and Julian Phillips? And so before we go ahead and we jump into it, I first want to remind you to slam dunk on that subscribe button, just like Modest Bazelis slam dunks in games. And so in exchange for slamming on that subscribe button, I'm going to give you nothing but daily content around the Chicago Bulls. Make sure that you hit that like, you hit that subscribe, and you join the Chicago Bulls Insider family as we talk nothing but Chicago Bulls basketball. And so with that being said, let's go ahead and let's jump into it. And let's start with the first topic here, which is, should the Bulls take a chance on Malik Beasley? And so if you're not familiar with that situation, Malik Beasley, it looks like, has been cleared, of his off the court situation there. And so now it looks like that he is completely free here as a free agent. And so the question now is, should the Chicago Bulls be looking to possibly make a run here at Malik Beasley? And so here's the first thing with this situation. And so if the Bulls were to go after Malik Beasley, they're going to have to clear off a roster spot, because once Josh Giddey does sign, regardless of what it looks like, if it's going to be the qualifying offer or they outright get a deal done, the roster is full. And so that means that you're going to have to move a player. And so assuming that the Bulls do move a player, then yes, they do have a roster spot for him. And they also too could offer him perhaps the money that he would be looking for here in free agency. And so the question is, with Malik Beasley, would that be the fit that kind of pushes this team forward? And so for me, I think that if you're adding Malik Beasley, this is more of a win now type of situation. And I think that this would be something that really would be like a one-year rental, because when you look at Malik Beasley and the season that he had, look, he finished second in the sixth man of the year running, which is great. And I definitely think that, he came off one of his best scoring seasons as a pro, 16.3 points. He definitely knocked down the three ball at a terrific clip at 41.6, shot 43% from the field as well. And that was on 9.3 attempts. And so when you look at the attempts and just the percentage from downtown, then definitely you're looking at a player that would fit just from a scheme standpoint what the Chicago Bulls want to do. And just as far as like kind of bringing that veteran presence, for a guy that has been around stars and stuff like that, then definitely you could say that Malik Beasley would be a fit there. But as far as the long term for this team, I'm not sure that this would be necessarily the signing that the Chicago Bulls should definitely go after. And in fact, when I look at the Bulls and just going out and possibly adding another player, I would like to see them add a player that is more of a two-way type of player, and really a player that we can just really depend on defensively. I think that that is probably the next step that this team needs to take. And I'm not sure if it's going to be free agency or through the draft, but when I think about defensive players that can just play both ends of the floor, I think of an example here with the Indiana Pacers in Aaron Naismith. Like, I loved his ability to lock down and then also to hit big shots and things like that. And so also too, another player that comes to mind is going to be Lou Dort. Like, I love both of those players. And I just think that if you get that type of player here with the current roster build of the Chicago Bulls, I think that you're really starting to trend in the right direction. I also think if they were to get better on the interior. And so that means that you're getting some more defensive minded, maybe a center, power forward, something like that. I just think that that is really where the shift is. And I just think that with Malik Beasley, yes, he's terrific on the offensive end, but I think that this team at this point in time, they need to get some more toughness. They need to get some more toughness, and they need to get some more defense either on the perimeter or inside to really start to turn this thing around for the Chicago Bulls. But you guys let me know in the comments here what you guys are thinking. And I'll say this: when it comes down to getting players like a Lou Dort or an Aaron Naismith, this is why I think that, for the fans out there that are thinking, okay, yes, you need to get some more draft capital. This is why, because if you just look at the fact of having more draft capital now, you can go out there and you can take a chance by drafting a guy like Noah Singay. And then if you have another draft pick, which is maybe later in the draft, this is where you can maybe go after a more polished player that is still young, that would be on a rookie contract, that is going to project as a two-way type of player. This is how you start to build your roster out, and you really get a young core, and you're really starting to do some of the stuff that OKC did. And so that is the importance of really getting multiple draft selections, because it's challenging when you're trying to go out there and you're trying to add, multiple free agents there to help your team. And so I think that that's something to consider. If you're in that camp to get multiple draft picks, this is why, because you can go out, you can get defensively better, and you can also get younger, and you can also be on or having these players on rookie scale type of contracts. And so anyway, you guys let me know, do you think Malik Beasley should be a player that the Chicago Bulls should go after here? And so the next topic that I wanted to talk about here is Dalen Terry and Julian Phillips, and just really who steps up first for the Bulls this season. And so I think that both players are going to step up. And I think that the player that is going to step up first, to me, I think it starts with Julian Phillips. I think that Julian Phillips, to me, I thought that he showed a lot. And I think that he took a huge step forward because at times he was the first player off the bench, or one of the first. I know he was ahead of Patrick Williams. And so I definitely think that that's a huge step because he's taken that step forward past him. And so I think that what you saw was a player that certainly felt comfortable knocking down the corner three-point shot. We already know the athleticism that we get with Julian Phillips. And I think defensively, he's really starting to, I think, kind of scratch the surface here. I think that he's a guy that probably needs to get a little bit more, stronger as well. But I think that just his instincts on the defensive end, he definitely can be a guy that can instantly be a very good team defender. I think that it would be a huge step forward if he becomes more of a guy that you can put on, an individual, and maybe he can be a guy that can be switched on multiple positions. Then I think that that's where he really starts to take off, especially on the defensive end, because if you're getting steals and rebounds and stuff like that, with his ability to run the floor and stuff like that, I think that he's ultimately going to create offense that way for himself. And let's see, because Julian Phillips, if he can now on the offensive end, just go ahead and maybe be a guy that's more of a creator, more of a guy that is kind of just working off the movement, off ball and things like that. I think that he could definitely take a step forward because he just can't sit in the corner, not unless he's going to be a guy that is just simply going to be a 3-and-D type of player. And I don't necessarily see that with Julian Phillips. I think that he has more to offer than just playing defense and then sitting out on the perimeter. I think that he does have the skill set if he wants to go ahead and get to that potential to where he could put the ball on the deck. And so I think Julian Phillips still raw on the offensive end and the defensive end, but I think he's a bit more closer than what a lot of people will give him. And I think he's further along than Dalen Terry. And so next, looking at Dalen Terry. And so Dalen Terry, man, I just love his work ethic. And so let me just say that regardless of what happens with Dalen Terry, I love the fact that he's put in the work with Peter Patton. I love the fact that he puts in the work with DeMar DeRozan. I love the fact now at the time of this current recording of this podcast, he's actually been noted as putting in work with Steve Nash. And so, with that situation, you think about it like Steve Nash, an elite point guard. And so, I think with Dalen Terry, he is more of a point forward. And so I think that if he can really kind of slow things down, be a better decision maker, be better handling the basketball and things like that, I definitely think that he has a chance, to get some more usage here this season. I know it is going to be crowded in the front court or whatnot, but look, if you can handle the basketball, Billy Donovan will trust you. Okay. And so if he comes in, he shows that ability, I think that that is certainly going to be a step forward for him. And then also too, I think the next thing with Dalen Terry and what I have down for him is just that a lot of stuff with him offensively is just, it's so raw. Like, I think it's something that it just needs to be developed a little bit more. And so I'm just hoping that all this offseason work eventually pays off for him. I know he needs the opportunity, but man, he has a ton of potential. It's just all about putting it together. But if you're to ask me out of the two players, I think that Julian Phillips is going to be the guy that's going to take the first step forward here. And I'm not I'm not betting against Dalen Terry to take a step forward. I just don't know if it's going to be enough to where the Bulls are going to say, okay, we want to invest in him long term. And so we'll see how that works out. But you guys let me know in the comments here, between these two players, do you think it's going to be Julian Phillips that takes the step forward first this season? Do you think it's going to be Dalen Terry? Do you think that neither of these players are going to take a step forward? Because I do think that between these two, I think that if they were to take a step forward, it really would justify, I think, more of the plan that AK has with going out and having these young players on the roster with some experience and just really developing, the young pieces that you have. And so I think that it kind of goes into that, and it would just show you, okay, the plan is working here. And so let's see what happens there. And then on the other side of this thing too, let me know, do you guys think that the Chicago Bulls should be in the market to go out here and sign Malik Beasley? I'm going to say no on that. I think that really when the Bulls are looking to add players, I think that they should be looking for players that really kind of give them a little bit on both ends of the floor. I think that Malik Beasley is just more of just a specialist as far as scoring the basketball and everything else. But I just think that they need to try to focus on getting guys like a Lou Dort. And no, I'm not saying they're going to get him. Lou Dort is obviously signed with OKC. I'm just giving examples of players that I would like to see them kind of go after, and Aaron Naismith or something like that. And so if it's not going to be via free agency or trade, then they need to figure out ways to get players like this, with that same type of playing style in the draft. And that's where you can go out and you can get some multiple draft assets and just go get some players like this out of the draft that really would fit that young, core and just the timeline that you have. And so I think that this is why it's important to have draft capital here and be able to build your team out with those rookie scale deals and players that can possibly come in and contribute to your team long term. And really, they just change the course of your franchise and just really the direction there. So you guys let me know in the comments what you're thinking. And as we always say, look, go Bulls. And I will see you guys on the next one. All right, peace.